So in nursing research, right, you're gathering just mountains of data. But how do you actually turn all that info into something people can understand, share, and use to make a real difference? That's exactly what we're going to break down today. How to transform that complex data from just noise into a clear signal.
I mean, think about it. Those numbers you're collecting, whether it's on patient fall rates, medication errors, or vaccination trends, they literally hold the key to preventing harm and improving lives. But hey, if they're just buried in some confusing spreadsheet, all that potential, poof, it's gone. The stakes are just incredibly high.
Okay, so look at this. On the left, that's what raw data feels like, right? Just a total chaotic sea of numbers. It's pure noise. And on the right, that's our goal. A clean, organized visual that tells a story, like right away. That's the signal. So in this explainer, we're going to give you the tools you need to find that signal every single time.
To do all this, we're going to open up what I like to call the researcher's toolkit. And we're going to focus on two really essential methods for making your data clear and impactful. First up, we're going to build the foundation with tables. And then, we're going to bring it all to life with graphs. So, let's dive in.
All right, first things first, tables. Now, these are the absolute foundation for organizing your data in any logical way. Seriously, before you can even think about making a fancy chart, you gotta have a solid table.
Okay, so the official term for this is tabulation. Like it says here, it's all about arranging data into columns and rows. But really, just think of it as the super important prep work you do before the main event. This is what lets you pack in a ton of information, make those direct comparisons, and just get your data ready for some deeper statistical analysis. It's step one, and it's probably the most important one.
So what's the difference between a good table and, well, a really bad one? It sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to mess this up. Come on, you've been there, right? Staring at a table and just feeling completely lost. There's no title, the headings are super vague, you have no idea where the data came from. It's a total mess. A classic case of data gone wrong.
Okay, so to avoid that disaster, you just need to follow a few core principles. Every single good table has a clear title and a number. That way people can reference it easily in a report. See Table 2. The headings have to be crystal clear, and you have to specify the units. Are we talking milligrams or grams? Percentages or just the raw counts? Huge difference. And finally, always cite your data source. The golden rule here, keep it logical and keep it simple.
And you got to remember, not all tables are created equal. You have to pick the right format for your data. So a frequency distribution table, that's your go-to for showing how many of something you have. Super simple. Then you have a contingency table. This one's a bit more advanced. It's what you use to see if two things are actually related, like say smoking status and a specific health outcome. And you know those select all that apply survey questions? The multiple response table is your best friend for making sense of that data.
All right, let's move on to the second tool in our kit. Once you've got your data all neat and tidy in a table, it's time for the fun part, using graphs to bring that data to life and tell a really compelling visual story.
I absolutely love this analogy. If a table is the detailed blueprint, then a graph is the artist's illustration. It's all about communicating your key findings. We're talking trends, comparisons, relationships, almost instantly, before your audience even has to read a single number. And here's a perfect example of one of the most common types, the bar chart. It's super simple. It just uses the length of the bars to compare different groups. I mean, look at this one. You don't even need to squint at the numbers on the axis to know that married is the biggest group of patients here. It's just intuitive and super effective for this kind of data.
Okay, next up, the classic pie chart. This is what you grab when you need to show parts of a whole, where everything has to add up to 100%. Think about a hospital's budget, for instance. A pie chart is perfect for that. You can see in a second where the biggest slice of the pie is going, and maybe where some resources need to be shifted.
Now this is interesting, because people get this confused all the time. What's the difference between a bar chart and a histogram? Well, a histogram is for continuous data, things like age or blood pressure. And you see how the bars are all touching each other? That's the big giveaway. It shows the data's flowing along an unbroken scale. This helps you see the actual shape and distribution of your data, which is something a simple bar chart just can't do. All right, if your data has anything to do with time, the line graph is going to be your best friend, for sure. Just by connecting the dots, it creates this really powerful visual of trends over time. Imagine you're tracking a patient's temperature after surgery to catch an infection early. Seeing that line start to creep up tells the story way faster than a list of numbers. That upward or downward slope says it all, instantly.
But what if you want to see if two different things are connected? Is there a relationship? That's where the scatter plot is an absolute rock star. See, each little dot is one data point, like one patient. And by just looking at the pattern of all those dots together, you can see if there's a relationship. Are they all trending upwards? That suggests a positive connection. Or are they just a random cloud of dots? That probably means there's no relationship at all. It's such a powerful way to start exploring those connections.
And hey, let's not forget about geography. Map diagrams or spot maps are so powerful for seeing patterns spread out over an area. Think about it. You could use a map to track a disease outbreak, which helps public health officials know exactly where to send resources. Or you could map out which neighborhoods have access to healthcare to find those underserved communities. It's a game changer.
Okay, I know. That was a whole bunch of options, and it can be really tricky to figure out which chart to use and when. So how do you pick the perfect one for what you're trying to do? Let's break it down with this super simple guide.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. You have to match your research goal to the right tool. Think of this slide as your cheat sheet. Before you even open up your software, just ask yourself one question. What is the main story I want to tell with this data? Are you trying to make a comparison, show a trend, explore a relationship? Your answer to that question is going to point you straight to the perfect visual for the job.
All right, let's bring this all home. We go through all this trouble organizing and visualizing our data for one really simple reason: to make it actually matter.
It all comes down to this. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? You can have the most incredible, world-changing data, but if you don't show it in a way people can actually understand, its power is completely lost.
And this is the whole point. Good data presentation isn't just about making your report look pretty. It's about turning what you found into solid, persuasive evidence. Evidence that your colleagues, that hospital administrators, that policymakers can look at and say, okay, we need to act on this. That's how we improve patient care in the real world.
So, the next time you're staring at a spreadsheet packed with numbers, I want you to try something. Don't just see the data. See the story that's just waiting to be told. See the discovery that's waiting to be shared. The only question left is, how are you going to tell its story?